We're going to go on a little side quest this video, but it's stuff you need to know. Welcome back to a series where we learn Sidus Link Pro and about the job of programming. I'm Mark LaPierre, your nerd translator. This video is sponsored by Aperture, so I feature their products, but the opinions are mine. To remind ourselves about DMX, let's select our one interior key. Notice that the intensity goes from 0 to 100. Let's set it to 10%. So let's switch to the RGB tab. Now notice that the red, green, and blue also go from 0 to 100%. We don't need to interact with these, so let's just leave it alone for now. Now with all these 0 to 100s, you might think that that's what lighting control is, but it's not. Let me show you. Go to the upper right of the interface and touch the FV in the gray circle. Choose Channel View. So remember we set our value to 10% on intensity, but here it's showing us 25, not percent, because DMX actually goes from 0 to 255. That's because DMX is an 8-bit protocol. Now don't tense up over the math, there's very little to it. DMX is the control language of lighting. It's been around since it was published as a standard in 1986. DMX stands for Digital Multiplex. It's an 8-bit protocol, which means it has 256 steps of resolution between 0 and full. But a simpler way of saying that is the lowest value is 0 and the highest value is 255. Now, why is the top value not 256? Because 0 is a value. So that takes one of the steps. Remember when we moved the intensity from 0 to 10%? We actually moved it from 0 to 25 in DMX, as you can see in the channel view. So that's an 8-bit value, but what about the 16-bit values? Let's clear our stage by hitting Clear on the right and select Mover 101. Why this light? Because of pan and tilt. Every moving light offers at least 540 degrees of pan range. Imagine trying to control 540 degrees with only 256 steps of resolution. Not the best idea. The way around this is to use two addresses to control one parameter. Once you've selected the mover, notice that there is pan and pan fine. Same with tilt. Another math moment, so bear with me. Two 8-bit addresses actually multiply each other when combined for control. So instead of 0 to 255, you suddenly have 0 to 65,535. That's a lot of resolution. Now, a side note, while we're selected on one of the moving lights, when you were checking all of your lights at the end of the patch video, did you have trouble getting this light on? That's because there is supposed to be a default value on strobe of either full 255 or between 20 and 24. Now you can do this in either fixture view or channel view, but since we're already here in channel, let's scroll over. And you see where it says strobe, as simple as can be, just roll it up so it's somewhere between 22 and 24. So now that we've done it, let's switch views so I can show you how to do it in fixture view. So go to CV in the gray circle, touch fixture view, and you'll need to be in controls. Touch the strobe tab, and this is where you could also bring this between 22 and 24. Working with intelligent fixtures gets a lot easier when you read through the manual to know what they are capable of and how they are supposed to be controlled on a parameter by parameter basis. Let's talk about different ways to set up our lighting systems. DMX can control lights in two kinds of ways, wired or wireless, but each have two more options. Wired can be direct from the console to the light, obviously not on Sidus Link Pro, but I mention it because that's the OG way to do it. In our current lighting world, hardline usually means network cable from the console to a node, like Sidus 4, and then a DMX cable to the light. Wireless can mean CRMX, which is the wireless protocol for film, or CRMX over Bluetooth, which is using two forms of wireless, Bluetooth between your iPad and the transceiver, and then CRMX to your lights. So if wireless lighting control is so good and readily available, why use hardline? Reliability. It's easy to have great wireless control of lights until the teradecks and transmitters from other departments roll onto set. Then it's a bandwidth battle royale and no one knows who is going to win at any given moment. Let's do some setup examples so you know some of the important details about each approach. Okay, so we're going to go to Settings, Ethernet Settings, we're going to change where it says IP auto DHCP on the right so that it says static. Great. Now we're going to go back. Now we automatically have a default IP address. There's nothing wrong with this. It's 192.168.1.1 and a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Great. All right, now we're over on our iPad. We're going to hit settings. Our first stop is actually go to Wi-Fi because, as you can see, Sidus will always favor a Wi-Fi connection unless you turn it off. So we're going to turn that off. Now you see over here where it says Ethernet. I already have my USB-C to Ethernet adapter plugged in. So all I have to do is touch on it, go over here to this little arrow, and under configure, it says automatic. Again, there's no DHCP telling anything its IP address, so we're going to touch that. We're going to touch manual. And now we're going to type in 192.168.1.2. And we're going to go down here to subnet 255.255.255.0. And we are going to hit save. I've got one ADC patched in, and it is controlled wired. And then I've got another one, and it's patched in, and it is controlled wirelessly. So that we can really see the difference in how the timing lines up when we're firing cues. So now, individually, they appear to both be behaving fine, right? No noticeable lag. And that stays that way until we fire them both at once in a 0-second cue. So here's on and here's off, on, off. So depending on the moment, that delay is variable. The unit on the right is definitely later. If this were a paparazzi effect, that would be totally fine with your gaffer and DP. They would never notice. But in the case of a muzzle flash, which I have had to do multiple times on set, and this is a memory from my second feature, where I was trying to synchronize a wireless S360 and a wired S360. Do not try to do that. It will not make you have a good day. Now we're going to remove one of the hard lines from this sequence. So we're going to close down Sidus, and we're going to remove the Ethernet. And instead of doing it that way, we are going to connect to Sidus wirelessly. So we're going to come back into settings, turn Wi-Fi back on. Now, I've already signed into this before, but if you're new to this, your Wi-Fi name and password is written on the bottom of each unit. Just enter it like you would anything else. DHCP on wireless is present here, interestingly, not on wired. All right, so now when we go back and we open our same show file and select our fixtures, so now we have 2 steps of wireless on this unit, but only 1 step of wireless on this unit. Not bad. Again, individually, not particularly noticeable, but I'm still seeing a lag in between the two. The hard line is still much better. So our last protocol is CRMX over Bluetooth. Now, I know some users really enjoy this. Most professional programmers that I know kind of avoid it like the plague because Bluetooth is fast, but it's not particularly strong or reliable. But that said, let's have you see it for yourself. Now, we're going to go up here to the Wi-Fi icon. I am not already signed on to the Wi-Fi over there. This is only over Bluetooth, so CRMX BT for Bluetooth. And it shows every TMO2 chip that's in the room. There's one for each of the Storm 80s, but then down here is the Sidus one. So when we touch that, it links. It's using the same linking key as before. That one was a hard line, so now we only have this unit. But I want you to notice the difference, right? As I'm moving, there's a much bigger lag. I feel like there's like chunkiness in how the dimming curve is being interpreted. So That's kind of why most of my programmer friends and I avoid this. You cannot expect effects to run on this and work. But it may be the right solution for you depending on the day. When you are deciding what setup to use, I would suggest you choose the most risk-averse setup possible. Programming is a performance job, and we need to look as good as possible to justify our expense. So I would hardline network cable from your iPad to the Sidus 4, or other network switch if you need to send to other nodes. I always have the truck pack set for wireless control, but locations and stages are almost always hardlined. Again, a reminder that this bit me on a stage one day when I had 2 lights, 1 hardline and 1 wireless from the truck pack needing to fire at once. Yikes. Well, I feel like we've covered a lot in this episode. We learned a little more about the basics of DMX as a protocol. We learned many of the ways to connect a console to your lights, including wired, wireless, CRMX, and CRMX over Bluetooth. We learned the timing of each is variable, and I suggested the greatest caution in how you set up your systems to work. In the next video, we are going to go over the basics of controlling lights in Sidus Link Pro. I'll see you then.